these people. So I just want to say your work is just so real, so down to earth, and so close to home, struck me on so many levels. And I like your work much better than any DSM or scientific publication I've ever read about it, and has been so much more helpful because you really brought it down to where we can all understand it and relate to it from our true personal experiences, which is something that's been lacking.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you saying that, and it really makes me feel good, because that was the idea, to just produce a book that would actually ultimately help people. Because I know it's a negative subject, it's a dark subject, and there's no getting away from that. But ultimately, we can make it a positive story, because we have to learn how to deal with these predators, because they are out there. They're not going to go away, and we're brought into this world with one of the greatest mistakes that's ever taught to us as a child is, we all got it, in your country, in my country, and every country in the world, we are told that every person has some good inside them. Well, I'm here tonight to tell you that there are 4% of the human population walking this planet who have absolutely no good inside them. They are living in a world of predatory, pernicious behavior, and they only see the rest of us as targets to be exploited and used.
Oh, wow, only 4%?
Well, the official figures are 4%, and that's I rounded off. I know it does. You see, the thing is, Christy, that that 4% can wield a trail of misery in their lives, that the footprint of misery they can leave can be colossal, and they'll do it without a care in the world. I know, it's only 4%. That's the official figures. I've actually was talking to a psychologist recently, and she told me that she actually thinks it's much higher. So, I don't know. There's also an element of people who are probably not psychopaths or being made that way by modern culture, but I'm not. That's speculative. But in terms of actual, real numbers, 4% sounds about right. And you brought
for true psychopaths, because one thing you point out is just somebody may display a symptom or personality trait of one at certain times of their lives, or they may, we're fallible, we're human beings, and we make mistakes. So just because somebody maybe did one of those things at one time in their life doesn't mean they're a true psychopath.
Absolutely not. A psychopath is a very specific predator. They're absolutely pure. There's, although there are different frequencies of psychopaths, where there's some who aren't, maybe just swindlers and they use people, and con artists and womanizers, and then there's others who are like serial killers and despots and tyrants. It doesn't matter. Once they're a psychopath, even if they're only a little bit of psychopath, they're extremely dangerous. They're far more dangerous than a non-disordered person who may be just a jerk or a creep or a criminal. Yeah. You're dealing because they plan, and they know exactly what they want, and they target, and they have a deviousness it's impossible for the average person to comprehend. They're pure. You know what?
It
you
is.
Can imagine, and
a lot of us want to try to understand, right, and fix them. Oh, because they use these stories, and we feel sorry for them, or oh, they just love in their life, and dumb girls like me, and I know I'm not the only one out there, so let's get real, people. But we fall into the trap so easily that way.
Yes, and it's not your fault. It's not that what they do is they're very good students of human behavior. They will move in on you, and they'll when you first meet them, they'll start checking you out, and they'll be saying certain phrases and dropping certain words, and often they'll say nothing. And initially, people when they first meet them saying, "What's the story with this guy?" or "What's she? She's kind of weird." I don't know, And then the next time you meet them, and this is if they're interested in targeting you. The next time you meet them, what you will meet will be a transformed being. They will be everything you want in a person, because they've spent the week or the month in between when you weren't around working on all your triggers, practicing all the ways that they could find out to manipulate you, searching your online history to see what hobbies you've had.
Oh, yeah, infiltrating your friends and family and finding
like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
And they will do it with a level of see, this is the thing about them as well. They're pretty dumb in most ways, except being devious. And when they're targeting somebody, it's like a lone individual psychopath is like the world's greatest espionage agency wrapped up in one body. They're completely devoted to targeting you. And it doesn't matter if you were a little girl and your father died when you were a baby and you grew up without a daddy, and like they will be the daddy that you always wanted that you never had, when you were a little girl. If you were a man and you never had you never had like a really fun relationship with a female, they will be the funnest woman you ever met, but it's just a facade. It's a persona. It's not the real person. And this is what's the most difficult thing for people who are victims of psychopaths have to deal with, is that they may have walked down the aisle with them.
Thing I think people describe is looking into people's eyes and they just seem kind of dead, washed away. No glimmer, glistle, or sparkle, just lifeless.
And it'll also be, and their smiles also look like painted-on smiles. They're like when you can have a clown. Yeah. This is one of the reasons we have, like, a lot of people, I know I do, have an instinctual sort of aversion to circus clowns, is because we sort of instinctually know that the smile is painted on. It's not a real smile. And underneath there would be a malicious, sneer. Well, it's the exact same thing with a psychopath. It's not real. The eyes are not, that's why they don't have crow's feet on the side of their eyes, a lot of them, even well into their 50s and 60s, is because their smile is not sincere. They're not making a proper smile.
Yeah. Wow. And, people do get trained how to smile, and I just thought of this because, I spent a little time in Hollywood, and I remember a producer telling me, Christy, you can't smile like that. You're going to get crow's feet. This is how you have to do it. And it's like a conscious lift of your eyes, and they actually train people how to do that.
I didn't know. That's very interesting.
Yes,
but makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So very, very good point. So that lifeless, kind of, one thing you talk about is no remorse. And of course there's 5 characteristics that they all share, and then a whole bunch of secondary characteristics. But what are the 5, the top clues that a true psychopath has to contain each of?
Okay, they all have 5 absolute primary traits. They all have these 5 traits, okay? The first one is no remorse. They have no shame. They don't care who they hurt, what damage they cause. They'll never sincerely say sorry for anything. And if they do say sorry, it's completely fake and you see right through it.
Or they'll do it like, oh, well, I'm sorry you felt that way.
Yeah, it's almost
like no responsibility. Mm-hmm.
Yep. The next one is they have invented personas to manipulate people. We spoke about that earlier on. They will invent a persona to manipulate you. It's not that you're getting the person. If you fall in love with a psychopath, you're not falling in love with that person. You're falling in love with an invented persona they have invented to specifically target you. And that's why people often tell stories of that they were in relationships, even married to them, and they would accidentally meet a psychopath one day in the neighborhood or in a different town, and they would look at them and they wouldn't recognize their own spouse because their whole body language would be different, because they'd be in a different persona to manipulate somebody else.
Okay, so to some people they might be a carpet cleaner. To other people they might be a drug dealer, rave DJ person.
Yep.
To the next person, they might be an infinite love baby, come experience God with me, I'll show you the way radio host, or...
Yep. Well, they could be... or they could... No, most likely they could be manipulating one person as a born-again Christian, cookie-baking, stay-at-home mom who pretends she's loves Jesus, and then to another person they're manipulating at the same time. They could be a lesbian, and another person at the same time they're manipulating, they could be a raving nymphomaniac. So it's like, who worships Satan. So it's whatever the person that they think that they want to target requires.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other one they have is a lot of them have mysterious or cryptic pasts. You never really get the full story about their past. They always seem to have these conflicting stories that don't make sense. You often don't see photographs of them when they were before they met you. It's almost like when you meet them, they seem to have appeared out of nowhere in a lot of cases, and that's because they've left a trail of